made my first $1 million online, and then I disobeyed God and I lost everything. Look, I've been broke before. It sucks and it hurts. But going from broke to making what a lot would perceive to be a lot of money, to going back to broke and having to rebuild from scratch, that's a different level of pain. And I don't want you to go through certain things that I've been through along my entrepreneurial journey. So it's only going to take me about 5 minutes to break this down. So if you don't have 5 minutes to spare, then you may be ignoring what God's purpose is for you. And it's a beautiful feeling to be able to move and walk and make money within your purpose. But there's somebody in my community that came to me, and everything that he's trying to do right now as far as building his online business, it's not aligning with what it is that he actually wants to do. And he's making these strategic moves off of what he's seeing everybody else doing. And that inspired me to make this video because I've been there before. And as soon as I veered off from my purpose and stopped listening to what God was telling me to do, I got whooped for it. And I got whooped bad. So a lot of times when I tell people that I listen to what God is telling me to do, they think that I'm actually hearing words. And a lot of times I'm not one of those people that hear God. But I have instincts. And I'm a true believer that your instincts come from a higher place. Just think about this for a second. Every other living creature on the planet, they don't have to question or ask how to exist. A shark just gets born and starts swimming around and it starts biting stuff. Boom, it's a shark. But us as humans and creators, we always question what it is that we're intended to do instead of just listening to our God-given instincts that come from a higher place. And every single time, I don't listen to my instincts. Every single time, I don't go with my gut. Like I literally feel stuff in the pit of my stomach. Every single time, I don't go with my first mind. Have you ever been there before? Like, we have an instinct that tells us to do something, and then we start negotiating with ourselves. We start overthinking, and then we do something else. And then down the line, we figure out that we were right all along. And then we say, I knew I should have just did that, right? Hindsight's 2020. Typically that first, what I call your first mind, that first thought, that first instinct, that gut feeling, you're right. And with me, I had made my first $1 million online with digital products, doing things my way. But then the ego started to kick in. And I had this blind ambition. Now, I don't think that anything is wrong with ambition, but there is something that's wrong with blind ambition, because typically, if you have blind ambition, there's a lot of ego that's attached to that. And I was feeding into my ego instead of feeding into my purpose. So my blind ambition started to kick in, and I just started to think of how to make more money. How do I scale? Right? I'm very into business. In my free time on YouTube, pretty much all that I watch is CEO interviews. So I figured that I needed to get around other people that had made more money than me, so I could start to implement certain strategies that they were doing, so I could get what they had, so I could get their success, or not even their success, of what I thought was their success. Because a lot of times, if you want something that somebody else has, you don't know what they had to do to get it. And you may not be willing to do the same things that they did. And also, we all need to define what success means for us. And I had lost track on what I had defined success to be for me, because everybody has a different definition of it. So when I fired my job April 1st, 2016, I bet on myself and went all in on entrepreneurship because I wanted to do when I wanted, how I want, on my own time. I basically just want to go to bed whenever I feel like it and then wake up when my body tells me to without an alarm. That's what I got into entrepreneurship for freedom, for the lifestyle that I want to design for myself. I had lost sight of what success means for me, and I started to strive for what success was to others. I lost sight of it. So what I started to do was that I started to join these masterminds and whatnot and get coaching from certain people. And their business model was to sell some high ticket coaching or something like that. Now, I'm not against selling high ticket, but I am against what a lot of the industry is behind the scenes. And a lot of people, if they knew how their favorite gurus actually sold stuff to make money, they probably wouldn't be your favorite guru. If you knew that they were getting people to take second mortgages on their house just to buy a course. If you knew that they were playing emotional games with people to get them to pull from their retirement to buy a course. If you knew that they were getting people to go into debt and have payment plans just to buy a course. This is a lot of the stuff that I was being coached and taught to do. And it was like oil and water, because I'm like, I don't feel comfortable doing this stuff and I don't want to do this stuff. Therefore, it's not going to work. And all that I wanted to do and what I kept being called to do and what my gut instinct and my first mind told me to do years ago, I was like, man, I want to build this community and I want to call it this crowded at the top. And the whole purpose of the community is for everyone to lift each other. You know, a rising tide lifts all ships. So my whole entire life, I've always just grabbed some information, got to a certain height myself, dropped the rope and pulled other people up. That's the whole concept of it's crowded at the top. And I wanted to do this. But everything that I was being influenced by in these rooms that I was in was going against it. Oh, no, that doesn't make any money. Why would you do that? Nah, that's just a little bit of money. No, make this stuff, sell this high expensive stuff, make a lot more money. Do it, do it, do it, do it. So I kept on trying to make that model work without doing the things that they were doing to make it work, because it didn't feel in alignment with me as a person. I don't want to call out other people's sense of integrity or whatever. I'm not the integrity police, but for me, who I am, my integrity wouldn't allow me to do certain things. I pride myself on being able to have a positive impact on people and make money within my purpose and be able to look at myself in the mirror each and every single day and be like, yo, I'm proud of that dude. All that I'm striving to do is make my 10-year-old self proud of the man that he wanted to become. So while I'm trying to make a business model work with tactics that is not going to allow it to work, something that I had built a 7-figure business with just kept on falling on the backside, because I kept getting influenced by others outside of myself on what to do. So if you don't know high ticket models, also, you typically have to hire a team, because in order to sell something high ticket, it's typically sold over the phone. So most people in any high ticket space or high ticket coaching space, they're doing sales calls each and every single day. Well, if you want to work on your business, then you have to remove yourself from the sales call. So you have to hire somebody to run a sales call. And then most of these high ticket people also, one of the only reasons why they have to sell high ticket is because they don't have any true brand familiarity and people that actually know, like, and trust them from any organic content that they create, that they have to pay for impressions and they have to pay to get in front of people. Therefore, they have to pay for ads. And the cost of advertising is so high that the only way to make their ads work is that they have to charge a high price. But if you take into account the advertising spend, if you take into account the sales team, if you take into account the people that you have to hire to follow up and collect on money, because all these people that are saying that they have all these huge income days, for the most part in the high ticket space, they're just talking about revenue. They're not talking about cash collected. This is some stuff that happens behind the scenes. So I'm in rooms with people that are saying, oh, I had $100,000 day. Oh, I had $1 million day. But when you pull the curtains behind it, or once you walk down the yellow brick road, you get to the end, you realize the Wizard of Oz isn't real. Because they didn't make $100,000 in a day. They got commitments from people that say that they would pay them. They got those people to put down like a $2,000 down payment, and then they're following up with those people. So you might have gotten a handful of people to pay you $2,000. Okay, cool. You made like $10,000 in that day. But then you have to collect on that stuff. And then once people are seeing that you're actually just selling a dream and a lifestyle instead of an actual result, they don't keep up with their payments. But they go around in their marketing saying, hey, I just made this much in a day. No, they didn't. So once I take into account of hiring this team, paying for ads, paying somebody to run the ads, building this big team for an information-based business that is supposed to be a cash flow business, but a lot of these people's businesses, they're building them like they are enterprise value businesses. If you don't know, there's two separators. There's really only two types of businesses. You have a cash flow business, which is intended to make cash flow, and you have an enterprise value business, which is not really intended to make money, but you build it up to a certain evaluation so you can sell it at a multiple. A lot of these coaching business or high ticket businesses, they're building them like their enterprise value business, and their margins are so small. And I'm telling you, a lot of them, they're looking for a way out, and they're bleeding behind the scenes. But in order for their marketing, they have to make it look to the marketplace that their stuff is so fine and dandy that so people will sell it. Most people are selling dreams and lifestyles, not actual skill sets and tangible results. But I remember I'm starting to make all this stuff work. Income's trickling, income's trickling, income's trickling. And then since I lost sight of what I had already built, I started to experiment with ads also. And the worst thing that could happen to me is that I found some success with it. I had actually found a way to make it work for me. But once I figured out a way for it to work for me, got influenced by other people outside of myself again, wasn't listening to my instincts that were coming from a higher place, wasn't listening to what God was telling me to do. Okay, cool. You know how to do this. Why don't you go ahead, hop in my business, scale it up? I became dependent on advertising, and then once somebody else outside of myself came in, they messed everything up. Ad account got shut down. My income literally went to zero overnight. Let alone I have over a 5-figure per month overhead just to have a team. So you can look like a successful entrepreneur with a team, but when you really think about it, why do you need all that stuff available just to sell a digital product? Because at the end of the day, any high ticket program, it's just a digital product with some coaching available. I'm like, that's no different than it's crowded at the top in the community model that I was called to do in the first place. So it doesn't take that long if you have a high overhead and no income coming in for your income to dwindle and disappear. But now I'm so thankful that I've been through that, because I wouldn't know what I know now. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And I wouldn't be building this YouTube channel that I'm currently building. And I actually like sitting down here for 5 minutes and giving true value information and telling my story. And I'm glad that I got out of it. But the only reason why I got out of it is because not only did I start listening to myself, I started listening to God, because that's where it came from. Those instincts, those natural instincts that we all have to be who it is that we are supposed to be. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because when that member of my community, it came to me not too long ago, This happened a couple days ago. And they're trying to work all these tactics that they're seeing everybody in content talk about, but they're feeling drawn to this one thing. And I'm telling them, yo, if that's what you feel and know will work, it will work if you make a decision to make it work. That's where it all starts with. And that's what I lost and I didn't do. I've always been a very decision-driven person. What I mean by this is this. Most people, they think that they have choices, and most people are picking from options instead of making a decision to do something. So a lot of people think choices and decisions are the same things when they're not. So a choice has options, but a decision is definitive. There's no other options. Everything that I've had success with in any aspect, not just in business and entrepreneurship, but literally anything in life, anything that I've had success with, it's when I mentally made a decision to do it, drew a line in the sand. I'm like, there's no going back and forth. There's no negotiating with myself. Those lows that I've had along my entrepreneurial journey, or that real big low that happened, because you're always going to have peaks and valleys, lows, right? Nothing is just a linear growth curve. But it happened because instead of doing what I said that I was going to do and what I already knew that I was intended to do within my purpose, I was like, okay, I could just keep putting it on the back burner, and then I can work this stuff, or I can put this funnel together, and then I'll just offer, it's credit at the top, at the end of the funnel, just to maybe get a little bit of monthly recurring income, because all these people are saying, hey, do this. This is how they're making money. But as soon as I learned how the business model works, I'm like, oh, this is a broken business model, and their businesses are very shaky, and just not too far in the future, a lot of their businesses, they don't exist anymore, or they're struggling. I don't know if you've noticed on social media or in content, you're not seeing a lot of people flash fancy cars as often as they were just a couple years ago. What happened? You're not seeing a lot of those same people that were flashing their lifestyle all over the internet. You don't really see them flashing that lifestyle anymore. What happened? A shaky business model with no solid foundation and super high overhead. That's what happened. Lifestyle inflation and a shaky business model. And some of these people that I'm having in mind right now, they're contacting me talking about, hey, you remember a few years ago when you were talking about that stuff that you wanted to do and how you want to do that and build a YouTube channel and blah, 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 blah. Hey, can you tell me a little bit about that? I'm like, it's crazy. Like it's flipped. I'm like, I don't know if that's ironic or if it's humorous. Whatever it is, I giggle about some of that stuff. But don't lose sight of what it is that you want to do. Don't lose sight of your calling. And I know there's so many people that have trouble finding their purpose and what it is that they're intended to do. And it's because they're not listening to God and your instincts. They're guiding you. Our instincts are given to us just like any other living creature on the planet. A lion does not have to wonder how to be a lion. It just is. But that's one of the downsides of being a human. We're so intellectual and smart that we outthink ourselves out of who and what we actually are and what it is that we're actually intended to do. And I'm so thankful that I've been through that low and had to rebuild from scratch, because I had to think of strategies and ways to get in front of people, build my influence, build my impact, build my income with nothing. That's how I discovered didn't discover YouTube because YouTube had existed, but already years prior, I was like, man, I really want to build this YouTube channel. I really want to build this YouTube channel, and kept going against what my instinct was telling me, because YouTube is the only evergreen platform. YouTube is the only platform where your content isn't here today, gone tomorrow. Most of the time, in actuality, here today, gone today. YouTube is better than ads. Because if you stop paying for the ad, then your reach stops. So whereas I don't even have the biggest YouTube channel yet, but from my small micro niche YouTube channel, I would have to spend on a typical month around $25,000 to $40,000 per month for the same amount of eyeballs that I get from a small YouTube channel. That's insane. And then I don't have to pay to build my income, impact, and influence. I actually get paid a little bit from YouTube AdSense to build my income, impact, and influence. That's not a business strategy that I have for myself, but that is a nice little cherry on top to just sit down and talk about things that I actually care about, and talk about things that I'm actually passionate about, and to talk about things that are going through my life, or my life stories, my life struggles. It's pretty cool. But I wanted to do this years prior. Just kept getting drawn away, and not listening to what God had already bestowed upon me. And this window that I'm talking about, it wasn't a long window. It was only like a year and a half to 2 year window when I got blinded. But I'm thankful for it. Because without it, I wouldn't have gotten back on my path. And if that did succeed, then I would have built a life for myself that I hated. Because I don't want to do any of that stuff. I only want to do what I'm doing right now. And I know a couple years ago, when I got back on my path of my journey, I was like, I want to make peaceful, purposeful profits. I called it the PPP, peaceful, purposeful profits. I found it. And now I have a motto of do less better also. Because I realized you don't have to grind your face off. And if you just look at the world, I don't know if it's messed up or not, but it just is what it is. Hard work don't pay. Most of the hard workers aren't getting paid much, right? So I'm like, do less better and make peaceful, purposeful profits. And I found it, but that would not have happened if God didn't test me, if I hadn't gone through that struggle. But I just wanted to make this video just to let you know that you're right. You hear or you feel that calling. You know what you're supposed to do, but you just keep on making excuses on why it won't work, or what else you need to do, or some new strategy, or whatever the new hot thing is. You know. I knew. I already knew what I was supposed to do. That's why none of that stuff worked. I wasn't in alignment. And until you get in alignment with who and what you are and what it is that you're intended to do, and start listening to your instincts that come from a higher place that are only working in your favor to help you be who it is that you're supposed to be, then nothing's going to work for you. But I got off track for a little bit, got back on track, working within my purpose. I actually look forward to what I'm doing each and every single day. Every single morning I wake up, I'm not exaggerating. I have that energy. Like, remember when you were a kid and it was like Christmas morning and you just like, oh, I can't get up. That's the feeling that I feel when I get to not only pour into you through this YouTube channel, but pour into all them, the members of my community. Is crowded at the top. And if you want to build a peaceful business online through digital products powered by a YouTube channel, go ahead and click the link down in the description and tap in. And I'll see you on our coaching call this Wednesday. But I love it. And there was a small window in my life where I was like, man, I never had any, I've had some dark moments, but I've never had any moment to where I like wanted to end it. But I wasn't looking forward to the next day. And I do truly feel like I felt like never wanted to end it, but I was like, if I don't wake up tomorrow, like it'd be okay, because I hate what I'm doing right now. But I was right. If I just would have listened, I would have gotten here way, way, way faster. And I feel like you may be delaying your success too, because you're fighting against what you already know you're supposed to be doing. So go ahead and check out this video right here for 3 Bible verses that really changed my life and let me tap into my power as a creator from the ultimate creator. It's crowded at the top.